Hello, my name is Immani Love with Blackout Magazine, and today we are here with Aisha Shaibu-Lenoir with UK Black Pride. And tell us about yourself and who you are, your pronouns, and what you want to talk to us about today.
Yeah, hello. My name is Aisha Shaibu-Lenoir. My pronouns are she, her. I want to talk about all things queer travel, all things celebration pride, UK Black Pride, and also just looking ahead for the future and what does that mean for our queer Black community?
Awesome. Now, you are combining queer travel with UK Black Pride. And for those who aren't aware, UK Black Pride is the predominant pride for queer and people of color in London, UK. I myself have participated in UK Black Pride for several years pre-COVID. So I am very, very familiar with how amazing the event has grown from just a few people in a small park to taking over the city. So, talk to us more about how you would like those of us in the US to enjoy that experience.
I think as time goes by, I mean, one of the things I want us to do is to be able to travel more together. So I've been running a travel company for quite a few years now called Moonlight Experiences. And from that, it started off as a way of seeing ourselves represented, being able to provide our queer history, take people on tours, because when we look at the travel industry, it's not always catered for us. It's predominantly run by gay white men. It's predominantly when you look at marketing materials, it's not something that we tend to be centered. So I've been trying to do that within the travel industry, along with my wife as well, where we travel around the world and we highlight queer Black joy, as well as highlighting certain issues that are going on within cities, but also giving people a perspective to show them that you can travel safely, you can travel together, and you can enjoy life. In different ways. And we want to encourage loads of people to keep attending Pride events, especially ones that are made for us and by us, such as UK Black Pride. As you mentioned, you've been before, and last year we celebrated our 20th anniversary, where we had some lovely people that came from the US, as always. But for the first time, also us actually facilitating them with their travel needs when they come to London. Whilst it's great to also come to the event, it also provides an opportunity for people to explore London differently. Go and see what are the queer Black events that are in London for you. Look and learning more about our history within the community, from the 80s all the way to the 90s, learning about Black queer elders that have been around, people who were part of the Gay Liberation Front that often we don't get to hear about. So, yeah, it is pretty an exciting experience to be able to combine both.
That is phenomenal. I wish that was around when I came because we found our way through Brixton our own, and,
Exactly.
and that was it. That's all we could do.
Uh,
Um, but
yeah, Brixton is so nice.
I do love Brixton. I'm not gonna lie, food's amazing. Just it was it was nice to find my people, like
Exactly.
like
That,
just getting on the train and going down there, it was like, oh, here's where we are.
yeah.
The tourist spots in London are great, but to find somewhere that we felt centered was great. So, I
Absolutely. We went to Brixton as well with a few travelers, and we actually went to watch Sultara, who is this incredible artist, Jamaican. She's one of our awesome queer elders. She was talking about the history of Brixton and how she grew up and she was singing, she was dancing, she is phenomenal.
uh,
To be able to see all of this sound system and to witness her on stage, was just incredible. And those are the kind of things that, obviously you go to Brixton, you eat the food, but also the entertainment, the art, the performances, they're just incredible. And often people miss it
Right.
because they just don't know.
And
Oh, there's way too much options in London. Sometimes you're like, where do I start?
that's exactly right. I wholeheartedly agree. Now, now you started this a few years ago. Was it predominantly to bring people to London, or were you trying to do it vice versa, help Londoners travel to the US and other places?
For a while, because yeah, going into travel has always been a passion of mine, and I was actually working in the data science industry when I started it, so I couldn't do both
Right.
in the way that I can now. So it was predominantly for when inbound, so for when people come to visit London, I will take them out to all the queer venues, to ballrooms, queer balls, whether it's music night, poetry night, we will go out and we'll have the most incredible time. I've met hundreds and hundreds of travelers from all across the world. But now I'm in a position where actually it is both. So there's people that are still coming to London that I would cater for, but now it will also be outbound and also facilitating a group travel across the world with my wife. So we are hosting a lot of queer group trips from next year. We've got some exciting trips. We've got some Pride cruise around the Mediterranean. We're doing a lot more trips in African countries, Asian countries as well, but also unique destinations for queer women and non-binary folks to be able to travel differently because one of the things that is reoccurring is the fact that we're seeing rights and certain things being stripped away from us worldwide. And
Absolutely.
within all that, there needs to be room where we can still have some joy, but also not to forget that a lot of the things, the hostility we're seeing, whilst they are extremists within our own societies and communities, there are also people in between that are supportive, that are still allies. But we forget that when our government is spewing rhetorics that does not center us or that does not protect us. So one of the things that, my wife and I wanted to do with our queer travel club is to be able to kind of start debunking a few things and also educating people but doing it in a way that they can enjoy themselves. I grew up in Nigeria, and we see West African countries becoming more and more radicalized, more and more places where, our communities are like, we are not welcome. Why should we go to Ghana? Part of my family are from Ghana as well. So I grew up going to Ghana and loving Ghana, but for so many people in our community, it's not somewhere that is accessible to us. But at the same time, when you go, it's one of the most welcoming places to be. There are queer people everywhere. People know they're queer people. We want to be also, one of the hardest thing is this world also belongs to us. And I don't want us as queer people to um, to kind of not exercise that right to explore and to navigate the world, whether you want to go on a safari, whether you want to explore Zanzibar, whether you want to go to Japan, we really shouldn't be afraid anymore because our ancestors have always traveled. We've traveled, my parents traveled to the UK, which is where, I was born, but, without them moving around, and having that curiosity, whether it's for economical reasons, whether it's for jobs, or, our ancestors have always traveled and explored. But when I look at the travel industry, we are not represented in that way. In a way, sometimes it doesn't feel accessible when you are looking at marketing for safaris, for African countries or from the Caribbean, they are not putting us in the marketing material. They're putting white people because those are the people they feel like will, one, have the money or be
Mhm.
catered to, which is not true.
Yeah, the queer
As
dollar is much stronger than people know. And I think that's one of the downsides of marketing is they don't represent the queer dollar, especially in places that aren't typically welcoming to queer people. So I understand your efforts to bring people to those places. Um, you mentioned Africa and some other places that are typically, like you said, not welcoming. How do you make sure that the people who travel with you are safe?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And with anything, there's always strength in numbers, which is why also this is a really good way of doing so. And also, I think there is this notion where sometimes we feel like if we go to a country, if we have to be a certain way, i.e., the way in which we are in our homes. I think there's an education there where we need to also learn to have mutual respect. The same way in which we expect visitors to behave in our own cities or in our own communities is the same way we should be looking at it in certain ways. There's a lot of issues in our own countries, i.e., I'll say in the UK, where trans rights are being rolled back, where we are having fascist riots, where when you look at what is going on in the UK, that should scare tourists from coming. That should scare queer people from coming. But the reality of what we are seeing and what is also going on are two different things because there's still a strong community in the UK. We have still certain rights that allow us to exercise and to be who we are. And so looking at it in that lens, the moment we see African countries strip back rights, I'll say Ghana, because again, this is currently going on with anti-LGBTQ laws. We go, oh, that's it, I'm not going there. But if we're using that same argument, then we shouldn't be going to the US at all. We shouldn't be coming to the UK.
Right.
We shouldn't be going to all the European countries that are stripping by queer rights constantly. But we don't do that because there's a certain lens in which we view, I'll say, for example, African country, Asian countries, where they are always being portrayed in a certain way that is not favored. LGBTQ people have always existed in African countries. There is a notion of the fact that this has been taken away from us because of colonization. So I think it's about also understanding the context and where things are at the moment, and also understanding that the far right are investing and strategizing and creating movements to strip back rights, not just in African countries, in our own cities as
Right.
well. So this is no longer an argument to say, oh, African countries are not doing enough. We are not doing, the whole world is not doing enough. So what are
Exactly.
we going to do about it? I
Ex-
think is where we're at. So because of that, I want us to be able to find those pockets of community because they are there, find those pockets of safety because they're there. When I go to South Africa as part of the WTM, the World Travel Market, I go there and I talk about queer rights and about queer travel within African countries. And I put on seminars and I talk to different groups of people, not queer, you know. And one of the things that I get out of it is people who I would not expect to be supporters. I'm talking about people from Uganda, Zimbabwe, where are well known to have strong anti-LGBTQ laws. They're like, hey, Aisha, I just want to let you know that you are welcome in Uganda. We will look after you. We do have a community. You can come to our hotel. Our hotel is queer friendly. These kind of information and passing of knowledge is something that we are missing because in terms of the media does not portray all the good things that happen. Something terrible will happen in an African country, in the UK, in the US, and that's the narrative that we get pushed upon over and over again to scare us, to showcase a lot of restriction, but at the same time, with all of these things going on across the world, let me tell you that white people are still in African countries, especially when we're talking about, oh, you're going to get kidnapped, you're going to get this. They are building homes, they are building businesses, they have been traveling and running businesses for forever.
Right.
So if they are in positions where they're able to do that, us as Black people and Caribbean and those from diaspora, we should also empower ourselves to recognize that just like anything, there are opportunities everywhere. The same way, if should I wish to leave the UK and come to the US, I'm sure you'll be like, hey, Aisha, of course you can.
Come to
It's
St.
not,
Pete.
you know what I mean? Despite what's going on in the world, you say, hey, yeah, if you go to this area, if you know these people, you can find a way to exist. And at the same time, I think there's also something about sharing our economical power. One of the things that we've been doing for so many years is traveling around Western world, giving our money to
Right.
hotel brands that are not Black owned, that are not queer owned. So if we're talking about changing the ties of things, we need to start redirecting our own funds and our own money in the right places. So if that means that I go to Ghana or Tanzania and I'm actually supporting the local economy, I should be doing that more versus wanting to just go to a Western country or somewhere in Europe only. And I think it's about also seeing we still have that economical power, and perhaps we just need to be a lot more smarter in how we distribute it, because there are multiple LGBTQ organizations across the world in African countries. Do you know that there are more trans clinic in Nigeria than there are in the UK? You know,
Wow. I did not know
that's what
that.
I'm saying. There's so much more in terms that are going on within countries that we have certain preconceived ideas of what it means. But at the same time, South Africa legalized queer marriage way before the UK did, so that is an African country. But
Right.
yet the UK, in which we view far more favorably, was far, like, I think 5 or 6 years behind South Africa
Wow.
to bring up the right. So these are the things that I think we don't get the chance to hear and understand. And also, once you're on the ground and once you meet the right people, nobody actually cares if you are following the laws. Like, for example, PDA in Nigeria, it's not something that people do.
Right.
When you go to the Middle East, you it's not something you should be doing. So therefore, it doesn't matter whether you're queer or not. That is just you know, a cultural and something within the society you should be aware of. Therefore, you're not going to put yourself in trouble because you're not going to do those things in public, but
Right.
you can do those things in your own privacy.
Right.
So these are the things that I guess is also about understanding and meeting different people. We'll be heading to Tanzania and Zanzibar in one of our trips, and within that there is a hidden queer community in Tanzania where actually if women don't get married or they lose their husbands, they are allowed to marry other women. So there are these kind of communities where there are queer relationships and there are queer couples and partners. And despite the fact that it states that it's illegal to be queer in Tanzania because they have anti-LGBTQ laws, the government actually recognized those queer marriages that happen.
Wow.
Yeah, so there are, again, loopholes. There are things that we don't often see or hear about because, again, they are not centered and they are not shared. So I think it's important, again, to start seeing certain things for ourselves, to start recognizing that, yes, whilst we have all of these laws, we have the laws here in the UK not to support Palestine. You will be arrested, but these things are going on today.
Right.
But at the same time, that doesn't stop us from going, hey, I'm still going to come to London and support and
Right.
to voice my concern against, the genocide that is going on. It's the same thing.
Wow.
So what,
Well, then,
what,
go, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. That's really essential. And I was saying, in terms of, because you asked about safety,
Yeah.
we work with partners and people that we know and trust who are queer friendly. Some of them could be queer themselves, but also they run businesses that, again, white queer people always use. So
Right.
when we're talking about the notion of moving in African countries, queer people have always been doing it. White people do it all the time. So it
So
shouldn't
why
be
not
any
us?
different.
Why not
Why
us?
not us?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've been speaking about the trips. So tell our readers how to book one of these trips. How do we find you? Where do they get the information to pursue one of these trips? Because I'm quite interested in this Mediterranean cruise.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, you can find us on social media on the Queer Travel Club. So you find us on Insta, and we you can also find us on our website, queertravelclub.co.uk. Yeah, and it's that's what we want to do more of next year, and also create a movement where we are building and supporting each other really and understanding the world a bit better because it is we know it's beautiful and we really should not also wait because God knows what they're going to do with the rest of the world
Right.
as time
Mhm.
goes by. So if we can, we should
A-
really enjoy it, but also give back to locals that can be empowered. Like one of the things that we are looking at is training queer people to be tour guides, to be leading
Oh, I
these.
love that.
I'm building and creating forms of employment for our community because there's no point of us traveling all around and the money going back to white people or
Right.
back to people that already have a lot and aren't sharing because that's what is often going on, that there isn't there's a massive disparity of wealth and all across the world, but especially in these destinations I've mentioned. And I think, yeah, as more conscious travelers, there is a lot more we can do to change the narrative, and to kind of start building the world we want to see.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I got so enthralled. Is there anything that you would like to tell our readers that we have not spoken about?
I would say, come on a trip with us. Let's meet. We love meeting new people. We love building community, and I think that's essentially what we should focus on, working together, um, internationally. I think, yeah, for a while, I think we've always been working in our silos. And I think with what's going on in the world, when you know people, when you understand the structures that are around for our community, we are pretty powerful. And I think
Absolutely.
it's the notion that if, the LGBTQ community was a country, we will be, I would say, the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world.
Exactly.
Let that sink in,
Let that sit.
like think of, come on, like we've got this. We need to, because with powers, with what we can do when we're a bit more organized and we understand how to mobilize in the world, it will make us more resilient and it will give us more protection. And I think that's the one thing we've been missing the last, I don't know, couple of years.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh. Aisha, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me. Really quickly, shout out your wife because you've mentioned her a couple of times. Shout out your wife to us.
Yeah. Sure, my wife is called Lexi Shaibu-Lenoir. She's a wedding planner as well, a queer wedding planner. So
Oh,
for anybody out there who has found love, who wants to get married, yeah, hit her up. But also you'll be seeing her on trips as well.
wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. This has been Imani Love, Blackout Magazine, and we'll see you at the next time.